Animal Connections, learning to speak the amazing language of animals with your host, André Shirley.
Today I'm chatting to Faye Rogers. Faye shares her journey with us and brings us a message from the dolphins to humankind. Without further ado, let's chat to Faye. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here.
Shall I ask a few questions? Maybe introduce yourself and tell us how you got into animal communications.
Well, thank you for inviting me here. It's so wonderful to share about animals. I mean, animals are my passion. Animals allow us to be who we are, but more than who we are. And I know that sounds a bit, obscure. They're here as great teachers to us, and we learn so much through them. Unconditional love, of course, which is something that's always, suggested about animals, but also about liberty and freedom and being present. And how I got into animal communication. Oh gosh, maybe it was a calling. It happened not intentionally. It just sort of happened. And I just sort of rolled with it, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then word of mouth, and before I knew it, I started taking this up as a vocation. And so that was me. But I've always, since a little child, in my memories, I've always heard the animals talking, and it would just sort of get, dismissed. I would try to ignore it because we live in this really busy world, and the messages would come in, and you sometimes got to think, are they coming from the animal or are you just making it up? And that's where you step into the belief of actually they are coming from the animal. And anyway, I put my hands up to attend an animal communication workshop. I was with an amazing group of people, amazing teacher. She'd come all the way from USA to New Zealand. I was totally out of my depth because there was all these holistic animal people there and so on. I was just full of admiration. But I was the one that ran with it. It was just sort of like, it was just like a switch went on. For me, it was just life-changing. And then I put in the practice and more practice and more practice, and had a full-time business at the time. My daughter was, I'm going to suggest, maybe 6 or 7 years old. And somehow I managed it all. I'd just get up extra early. I had a lot more energy back then. I'd maybe get up at 3 a.m. and go to bed really late, and I'd just be taking in requests. And before I knew it, was sort of word of mouth was round. I had a lot of support from people that came into my life, and so I'm so grateful. And so, I had a friend that had one of the biggest private dog magazines in the world at the time, and so she would share about me and include me in her publications. I had offers from TV stations, magazines, newspapers, radio, and so it was a pretty heady 3 or 4 years. Anyway, so it was a pretty heady period of time, maybe 5 or 6 years of really a lot of growth. And and I'm just so grateful. The teachers that turned up, that gave me so much support. And of course, the teachers are the animals too. It's just the humans. We've got these amazing animals that live with us, that live on this planet. Some are domestic, some are wildlife, and it's all about balance.
You did an official workshop and now you offer workshops. How do they work for the people that would like to join?
I used to do a lot of workshops where people would come together, and they're super great. But nowadays, since the pandemic, they're happening by Zoom. What I've found is a one-day workshop I might hold over 4 or 5 evenings, which is over 4 or 5 weeks. We come together one evening. But what I'm finding is that the people process a lot more because they've got that whole week to just sit with it. And they just come in and they're just so energized for the next week rather than trying to overload themselves. It's just been really beautiful. The first one I had on a Zoom was I was overwhelmed by it because I thought, well, technology's not me.
Yeah.
But after that one, I ran with it. Yeah, I was really lucky. I didn't have enough boundaries in place. My workshops have a little bit of structure, but they're free flowing because it's always about who turns up, what happens, and we change direction many a time. And so it's sort of like I've had some people that have taken me more once and, 3 or 4 times. And it's sort of like, every time they come on, they take away something different.
Okay.
So I'm really, really lucky. The people that come together, how respectful, considerate, insightful they are. And
Yeah.
that's animals for you. They just bring people together. It's
Mm.
like if you're out walking your dog and people come up to chat to you,
Why would you recommend people do this course, Joe Average?
Yeah,
Somebody that likes their
it's just
pet, and why would you recommend they come and do this?
for their own personal growth, for what they will take away, for them relating to the world a little bit differently, and for their connection with their animals. But it's not just their own animals, it's the animals in the whole ecosystem. And so just to bring up their awareness, connection with a great bunch of people. Workshops are life changing. And so it's just like, I've had people come to the workshops and they've just actually taken a, dare I say it, a different path.
Mm.
They've got involved in different things. They've met new friends, and different things can be taken up, healing modalities or adding something to their own practice, or just stepped into their light more. They're really powerful workshops are.
You can connect with little people, it says on your website.
Yeah, sometimes they get asked to talk to little babies and children that don't have a voice. And it's always just the beautiful souls. They really are. They're pure, they're unblemished, and they're so accurate. So sometimes, it could be something that's happening in their life, and the baby or the toddler or a child that's voiceless because of some handicapped, what we call handicapped, and their insightfulness is so amazing, and they just tell their parents or their caregivers what they need to hear and who they are. Because we might see a child that's handicapped, but they're angels in disguise, many of them.
Yeah.
Not all, of course, and they've come in with such purity and beauty, and just so clean. Absolutely incredible children.
What's the most profound message from an animal that you've ever had?
Wow, that's really, they just keep on rolling in. Because I bring the messages in, I don't tend to retain it. They just come through me. If I'm doing it as a written transcript, which I'm then sending on to the people, I forget everything, but I've only got to read 1 or 2 words and then it comes back, and it just sort of, I just remember everything because they share words, but there's also emotions and things attached to the words, and it all just floods me back. If it's a Zoom or in person or phone call, I'm just not retentive, and because it's not mine, but there's just so many beautiful messages. One of my own dogs, he's no longer with me, and this is what I was doing yesterday. I've got this massive manuscript from him, and one day it will be published when the time feels right. It's huge, it's massive. And so he's sharing with me about the different roles that the different species have, but also it goes into the greater universe, messages and things like that. You're wise, insightful, seen beyond our perspective or our reality. And relating to that, it's part of the journey. Yeah. So, I mean, for one specific animal, some people turn to me to ask me about their animal's health, and sometimes the animal will start sharing. They never share things that are going to embarrass their family, so they're never going to share the deepest family secrets, or the person did this, that, or they will share insights into it might be health for the animal or well-being, and then they might change and say about where their person has been and the things that they've overcome or things that they have to look at and to create the life that they wish to step into. And so they always share compassion, kindness, dedication. There's no sort of like, it's just purity, it's just love and who knows us best, the animals that we live with, because we can't hide from them. They see right through us. And so, I've had animals suggest different things. I had this workshop in Raglan, which is the North Island. I live South Island of New Zealand. And it was an amazing workshop. A friend that was hosting it, I had one of the attendees come up and she was really, really excited. And she said to me, "Oh, Faye, everything that my horse said came true." And I couldn't remember because it's not my information to remember. So I'm just nodding my head. And my friend Shirley, she was in hysterics. She said, you've got no idea what she's talking about. And I said, I haven't. And she said, well, the horse actually suggested that Michelle's father would be buying her dream property and it would happen by a specific date. And it did all happen.
Right.
But of course, I didn't remember that. I mean, that's just something small that's always stuck with me because of the workshop. So, it's one of those things, you just never know what animals will share. They're sharing for compassion and what their family needs to hear from how they're doing, but also what could support their human and what they're going through.
Yeah.
And, the other thing is us humans, we're going through so much, the planet's gone through so many changes. I live in Christchurch, which is South Island of New Zealand, and I've forgotten how many earthquakes we had here over only a few years. There's constantly earthquakes, and the city fell down, and then there's all the other world things happening, worldwide. It's there's just so much happening for people to deal with, and the animals are such support people to us humans. They really are. I might get a bit teary here. Just when I think of the roles that animals have had with us, how they've come and helped people, how they've always just been. It's that soul contracts that they have with their people, how aligned they are.
Do you think once you've done this workshop, you understand your animals more
Without a doubt, yes.
and more
I
compassionate
think,
about?
more understanding. The people that do come to the workshops, they are animal lovers. And so they're there. Some will come because they've got a problem animal and they're coming to get their support for their problem animal. I'll call it problem animal, or to see what could come out, because I've tried everything. I've had workshops where people have just come together because they've lost an animal. Sometimes they have themes, and I shouldn't say themes, and that can be a grieving theme. So there might be, let's suggest maybe 6 attendees, and they've all experienced an animal that's just passed, and for some reason they've all come together and it's part of that journey. And other people have come because of, I don't know, it's always sort of a theme. Last workshop I had, it was like a huge awakening for the people that were there. It was incredible. Activations were happening all the time through the animal and other angelic beings and masters that came through on the spiritual realms. And those people were just, it was just like, massive awakening.
So it's not about the animals at the end of the day. The humans grow as well, on these workshops.
Definitely. Yeah. And, it's part of the journey for people to tune up, to attend them. And it's always just, I just love it. And I'm sort of a person that it's not ego, but I don't hold on to people. I just love them to actually, just going forward. Some people, when they get someone and they come and there's some sort of growth, they try to hold them back. And, it's sort of like, because they might lose their position and it's all that happening. But to me, I've never held on to anyone. I've just actually just seen them bloom and blossom and go ahead. And they know I'm here if they ever need support. So, I'm just here as a messenger for the animals.
Speaking of messages, any profound messages that you've had over time for human being?
Oh, definitely. That's in the manuscript, but also in any of the written transcripts or Zooms or phone calls that happen. But I'm just asking, can I bring in one now for humanity? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to connect with the dolphins and whatever they're going to share. So it's some people call this channeling. And so I'm connecting to the collective consciousness, which is an individual. It's a collective consciousness of a species.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so anyway, I'll just wait for that energy to come in and I'll start talking. Dear humans, dear humans, as dolphins, we see all, we feel all. We're here to support the planetary's frequency, the vibration. People talk about ascension. There's always been ascension. Earth is always a planet of always going ahead, but Earth is also a very troubled planet. There's so much disharmony, but have hope, have hope, have hope. Repeating some words a few times to reinforce the energy. Have hope, have hope, have hope. When you see disasters happening, when you see control by governments, understand that there's a movement going ahead, that a lot of things that are coming up to the surface is allowing more to happen. And when more happens, there's more light happening on the planet. But as the light is increasing, the frequency is increasing, then more and more and more shambles will happen. The only way ahead is to not focus on, we're going to suggest the word disasters, the shabbiness, that sort of energy. Just hold on to your own light, be who you are, feel your energy align, and be present, but also be totally aware that this is a period of great resolving. We've used that word resolving because there's so much to be done. The planet's in a mending stage. And while it's trying to mend, the wounds are coming up. Be free in yourself. Be the love and joy that you are. Remember where you've been seeded from. Remember your expectations when you arrived. It's when you were born, when you took that first breath. Hold on to those expectations. Those expectations are hope. Hope will dictate. Hope will power. Hope will allow you to be. Again, remember where you're seeded from. Remember the beauty. Remember the forces of energy that created you. Just remember when you're overwhelmed with the day, when you're overwhelmed with the news, just remember, take a step back and remember who you are so that you can walk freer, that your light can shine brighter. Remember that your energy touches another, that you're energetic beings just as we are energetic beings. We're working tirelessly, trying to help, trying to support. And maybe we should rub out the words trying to help and just state it as it should be. Supporting. We're supporting the planet. We're supporting the growth. We're joy. We're joyful at what is happening. Remember that. Remember that. Remember that. Remember your own joy. Remember that you are love. Remember who you are. Again, remember your seed. We love you. We love you. We love you. We also forgive you. We forgive you. We forgive you. And that is part of the journey of healing for this planet. Forgiveness. When you hold on to the wrongs, you're not allowing yourself the liberty to be who you are. Be free, be free, be free. Love, love, love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. It's Faye back now.
That's quite profound. The message is we must listen. Us humans must listen more. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the messages, anything that comes through, there's always energy frequencies attached to it. Sometimes, if I've done it was many years ago, and it was a written transcript for an animal and spirit, and I remember this one. And I sat there, and with the animal, it might have been 3 or 4 hours. It felt like I was there 20 minutes. It was only when I looked at the clock. And the messages had finished. And so I sent them on to email them through to the lovely person. As soon as she read them, she had a complete healing. The animal and spirit had put so much caring, love, and everything into the messages. I didn't realise she hadn't got out of bed for 3 months because she was so grief-stricken. She got up and started living her life again. And so, with words, there's always energy attached, in written transcripts or what's shared verbally. And we can use that same word, and depending the energy that we attach to it, it impacts us so greatly. We've got so many empaths on this planet, but more and more becoming more empathic, and that's part of the animal's role with us. They're opening us up. When we see tragedy happen, we feel it so strongly, but it's, people speak up for the animals in such a way that they don't speak up for other wrongs that they see happening. And so, the great encouragers. But the one thing we must always remember of animals that, a dog is here to be a dog and to experience that dog joy. A cat's here to be a cat. A lion's here to be a lion. And so, we must actually relate to them as the species they are, even though we've got this soul connection and we're seeing them beyond that, because sometimes, we put on, I don't know, some people try to humanize the animals too much.
Yeah.
I know that sounds a little bit bleak, but I think anyone that's listening to this will understand that.
Yeah.
We see them as people, but we see them as the species they are. Because, a dog, it's great joy being a dog. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun, and the energy that a cat has, it's incredible, absolutely incredible.
It is very incredible. So on your site, there's the 5 clairs. What is the 5 clairs?
Oh, okay. It's to do with clairvoyance. It's just different ways that people receive. It's just telepathic. When people start to receive messages, they'll receive them different ways, and it's understanding, because some people will receive the emotions. Emotions can tell you a lot. Some people will hear messages, so that's a clear audience. And so some people will smell things. And so it's just different ways of, how can I suggest this, I touch on the 5 clairs in workshops so that people recognize they are receiving things, because we all receive a little bit differently. Some people will just feel, and that's the emotions. And some people will see visuals, and the visuals can be happening in their mental thoughts or outside themselves. And some will hear voices, and they can be in their mental thoughts or even outside themselves. So once people recognize how they're receiving from an animal, it just gives them the ability to recognize what's theirs and what's not, and to accept. And when we accept what we're receiving, then it's we've gone to that trust energy, and the arguments stop. It's like, when we start arguing with ourselves, is this possible? No. The arguments, they're going on, and we're not accepting what we're receiving. And one situation comes to mind. It was a workshop I held in Tauranga quite a few years ago. I'm going to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I paired people up to work together, and I sat with them with the pairings, and I paired up someone with a homeopath. This person was talking to, I'm sure she won't mind me saying it, to Hannah Law's horse, Kara. Hannah Law's horse didn't live too far away, so on Sunday afternoon we went down to visit Kara and the other animals that lived at this other lifestyle block. We walked up the hill, and her name was Donna, and Donna said, "Oh, I haven't communicated all weekend, but Kara said this, and this about her, and she's got, and I can see it now." And I said, "What did you say?" She had no idea what she was saying, because as far as she was discounting everything that she said, I actually burst out laughing, because it was so funny. Because Kara was an elderly horse, and so she was telling Donna, with her first connection, of the things that to do with her age and things like that, and other things that she'd been through. And when she saw her with her, actual eyes, but she still thought she hadn't communicated all weekend.
Yeah.
And that's because she wasn't trusting what, this little internal argument going on, "Oh no, this is too easy. It's far too easy." And so if we can put those little internal arguments aside, then everything flows. And so, so that's why I touch on the 5 clears, so that everyone understands that they will receive a little bit differently. Then, and just because the way I receive isn't the way that someone else will receive. Yeah. I tend to get the whole caboodle of everything. I receive words, messages, visual pictures, and so on. Sometimes sights and smells. And, if people are vegans or vegetarians, we always set up the rules, please, doggy or cat or anything that's omnivore, don't share any meat taste with me, or because so we always always advise them to do that. And and so it's sort of like some mediums, they might pick up smells of someone before they sense spiritual being. And it could be some perfume, or it's recognizing everything. I always sort of look at myself as, I know I've stated this in conversation a bit earlier, I just look at myself as being the voice for the animals. And I think that's something that people are always concerned where the animals are. And one question that I quite often have people ask is not just to do with the animal's well-being or what the animal's going through, is relating to, are they happy with their life? But our humanness is wanting that reassurance. And to be honest, I've only occasionally had occasional horse suggest that they'd be better with a different person because the relationship's not going to work. But majority of them just think every day I'm experiencing joy or something like that. Us humans carry a lot of guilt about things we should have done or haven't done, or we think we, have done incorrectly. And so, and animals, they don't see it like that. They do not see it like that. That sort of ties into, I haven't made my animal as happy as I should, but the animal doesn't see it like that.
Okay.
They just sort of like, just get on with it. Just get on with it, just be present and, stop mentalizing and internalizing as much as we do. And it's really hard when you're empath because you feel things so strongly. You really do.
Thank you very much, Faye. That was really informative. And where can people get hold of you? What is your website address?
So it's animal communication is one word, little dash New Zealand is one word, .com.
I'll put it in the bottom of the movie clip as well. But thank you so much.
Thank you,
Faye. It was great talking to you.
Well, thank you, and please keep in touch. And and heaps of love.
Great stuff. Thanks, Faye.
Andrea, I haven't asked you what sort of animals, because I keep seeing like a cat standing behind you.
A cat, okay.
Oh, I keep seeing on energetic level, not on a physical level, this cat perched behind your shoulder.
Right. Okay.
Just hanging out with you. And I just thought it was just really,
It's interesting.
quite a wise cat. Quite, haughty. So, to sum up personality.
Okay.
Okay. Well, have a great evening, and
thank you very much.
And thank you.
Okay. Go well, Faye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.